Since you've clicked on this video, I assume you don't need much of an introduction for Mr. David Goggins. Probably very much like myself, you have a huge amount of respect for the guy and are eager to learn a thing or two from him. And with myself and the background not really looking the power of the high budget podcast studios you've seen him in before, by now you will have guessed that I ain't got no fancy episode with the man himself for you. But what I do hopefully have for you is a new way to understand some of the things he's put out there. If you've spent any amount of time on the internet specifically looking at Goggins, you will know that he's written a book. And what we are going to do today is we are going to go through the first book review any sane person would ever watch for fun. And before you slam your laptop shut, and stop watching, hear me out. Yes, we will be going through the book, but not by reading, or at max minimal amounts, I promise. You see, every single chapter in this book has a challenge, a call to action, waiting for the reader at the end. And since these are call to action, I think, why don't we just do that? What better way to learn from this one-man army than to go through his book in the spirit he intended to than the author himself would have wanted it, and that's for sure not by getting all nice and comfortable on the couch. We are going to take his words out of the book and see what applying his advice will do in the real world. Whilst we're doing all of this, I want you to think about how the advice we're going to go over is going to apply to your life situations. Don't take the content of this video too literally. If you take anything from this video, I want it to be a mental nudge for you to consider how what we are going to talk about in the next few minutes is going to apply to your life situation and how you can integrate it. It's not specifically about what I'm doing here today, but today is going to go as follows.
Oh, that's real good.
I'm going to run however many kilometers my legs, and most importantly my mind, and the theme of this book, will carry me. I know you're thinking, he reads David Goggins once and suddenly decides to become a runner. Very original. True, you're right. But I still think that this is a good choice of a challenge for me. Because you see, about 1.5 years ago, I had an accident because of which I had to undergo knee surgery. And afterwards my knee just wouldn't heal up. Just stayed hurt. And after seamlessly endless hours of physio and rehab exercises, my doctors told me that with the damage in my knee and my poor joint genetics, running and riding bikes just wasn't on the cards for me. And that broke my heart. But afterwards they suggested to me that I still can do it if I'm going to have yet another complicated surgery to reconstruct my feet. And that's where I stopped listening, because if one surgery fucks me up, I don't trust them to ride it with another. And I'm not doing this because I want them to feel stupid. I don't think any of them are ever going to see this. I just want to prove to myself that I can still get to where I want to be and live the life I want to.
When you read the book, or maybe you already have, you'll know why the first chapter is fairly easy to relate to for me. For anyone who hasn't read it yet, the first chapter is about each and every one of us gets lobbed a few foul apples by life, and how acknowledging those and responding accordingly does yourself far greater service than whining and moaning about it. He himself in the book tells us the story of his incredibly rough childhood, and it's truly worth a read. But the second one we're talking about today, the fourth one, that's not quite so obvious. For anyone who hasn't read this one either yet, it's about how to come out ahead when faced with unfairness in a competitive environment, for example like a boss at work or a coach at practice. No, but the moment I got told off by my doctors, it felt like it was exactly one of those scenarios, and whether by bad luck, fate or my doctors, I noticed that I felt like I'd been treated massively unfairly, but I was also being a massive bitch about it. Like I was whining, I was feeling sorry for myself, and I didn't do that for like weeks or something. I did that for months on end to stop going about the situation I was in the way I did before. That's where the value in this chapter came from. For me, it was a wake-up call to notice how bad I've been whining and how I actually wasn't really helping myself.
So the deal is this. I'll be out here and doing my very best, and
your end of the deal is to have a think for yourself and see if you can apply one of these lessons out the book to your life situation. With that said, I continued to shuffle through the woods, and it wasn't long until I
just got done with my first pit stop. The way I'm trying to do this is I've got a loop through the woods. It's 14 kilometers in length. That's 8.5 or 9 miles, I think, for all you Freedom Unit guys out there. Yeah, it took me about 7 minutes to stock up on food and water again. It was a bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I took the hit and got myself a few extra minutes to pack my water bags with ice and shit, because it's piping hot right now.
And the second I couldn't rely on my ice cubes anymore to distract me from how shit running actually is, the first slither of pain crept in and was bang on when
we've made it just past 20 kilometers, I think, right now. This is where the hurt really starts to set in. I'm getting hit in the mouth with how cocky this is. I haven't run properly since I was 15, I think. And my last run at all was a month ago. This is exactly what this is about. Finding out which grade of steel I can forge my mind into. Holy shit. I might have to cut out the cringe in post, but I'm trying to embrace the Goggins spirit here.
At this point, I started to hope that the energy and salt capsule diet I'd prepared for the run would substitute for some of my lacking preparation. But soon enough I got humbled big time, and the hour-long punishment of running did me in pretty good. The measly amount of strategic planning for the day had me thinking along the lines of not taking any walk breaks and run everything, because
it would take me out of my rhythm. But I'm just fucking done. Tank's empty. I don't want to fucking run anymore. My back is giving out. This is the fucking thing. My head starts talking to me because my legs hurt, my back hurts, that I should take a few more walk breaks. But every time I take another walk break, the agony just gets greater. I feel like I'm talking myself into not running, because
at that point the distance had beaten all of the hype and all of the energy I had going at the start out of me, and I felt dead. But after a little shuffling through my thoughts, I managed to calm myself a bit and noticed that
it's just where it starts, All the kilometers before this were just prep so I can get to where it sucks, so I can test out my internal dialogue and if I've got any say in it at all, or if I'm just like a pushover to my inner bitch.
And although my brain at that point was bombarding me with very good reasons to stop, like, my ankles hurt, and I actually wasn't sure if they were fine, but I still had a small eureka moment at that point, because I noticed that I finally managed to get myself into a situation where I could actually put the advice that I thought I learned from the book to the test and see if it was any good in the real world. Because I truly believe that to get the most out of this book, you have to keep the advice in the back of your mind, and only then test it out when you're feeling uncomfortable, because nodding off sermons is all nice and easy when you're relaxed, comfortable and warm at home. But that's the point. To see if it's an actual bit of advice or just someone yapping, you have to get a feel for what is being said in real life. Again, think about our deal, have a think for yourself what that might look like for you. For me it was just dealing with the joints I'd been given at birth. And for you it can be something as simple as studying for a subject you deem a weak spot for 15 more minutes if you really don't want to, or just improving your weakest lift at the gym. Now I'm 100% sure all of you have heard the infamous 40% rule that says when you think you've spent yourself, you're at your limit, that you've just done 40% of what you're actually capable of. Now I don't want to be so cocky and say that I've managed to push myself that far, but what I've definitely learned from this run and the book is that the vast amount of perceived exertion is psychological and not physical. Because after I hit that wall,
I did something I said to myself I didn't want to do. I put on some music. Just yesterday I was watching the Joe Rogan show with David, with Mr. Goggins, and we were talking about how music's cheating. But excusez-moi, that's fucking hilarious how much of a mind game this shit is. When I put on the music, my pace went down by 1.5 minutes for 5 kilometers. Yeah, and the idiot I am, I just kept on pushing that pace. Obviously I can't keep that. And now it's 9 kilometers till home. It's just insane how much of a mind game this is. One second I'm blasting hardstyle, pushing my pace way down below where it belongs. The next I'm gassed out, listening to guitar music and desperately trying not to cry. Like right now I just want to lay down, get a hug, and like wait till I wake up again.
Now it's safe to say I wasn't the best of spirits right there, but the beauty of something as simple as running is that so long as you just don't stop, you just gotta wait. And also luckily for me, my next mood swing was just around the next bend when
I've cracked the 50k mark. I'm officially an ultra marathon runner now. That feels fucking good. That's a sky high middle finger to my doctors. But all of this, like I'm proud of this, of course. But this got me thinking. Goggins, this motherfucker, ran 3 times as far as this. I've made it to 50k in a respectable amount of time. I'll check later how fast or slow exactly I was. And now I'm just walking home. And I can't fathom how he ran 3 times as far on rice crackers and Gatorade or something. The dude's a psycho.
To be honest, in that moment I didn't really think about whether or not I've learned anything from the book or this run I've put myself through. I just was happy to have somewhat made it and stopped hurting so bad.
While I was hobbling home, I felt a huge sense of pride in finally removing that mental barrier of me not trusting my knees. I was in so much pain for so long, and although I was all sorts of beat up in that old moment, these last few miles will definitely always hold a dear place in my heart. The fear of never being able to run or ride a bike again, or, just be a kid outside, that had haunted me for so long. Wait, and this is corny as fuck, but I feel like I got a second chance at youth. I genuinely thought I missed my chance to be young. And the reason why I even bothered to make this video is because I'm so fucking grateful to have had that stepping stone to get another shot at being young again. I genuinely thought that period of my life was just done for. And no, it wasn't the book alone, of course, but I'm so grateful to have it as a stepping stone. And if it can do like just a fraction of what it did for me, I think it'd be worth your $20.